I call it the new axis of evil: China, Russia, Iran. Yeah. How big a threat?
It's huge. It's the biggest threat. Since World War II, we have been the big kid on the block, right? We're the last real superpower. And after the USSR fell, we've been unrivaled. Now, China is a near peer-to-peer adversary to us now. And of course, their goal is to rebuild the empire. And so we're doing everything we can to ensure that we maintain our military superiority. We're the only nation that has the ability to project power and force like that around the globe right now. But China is doing its best to encroach upon that power. And you see they're even putting outposts around us. They're buying up farmland in states here in the U.S. All of these things have to be addressed at the federal level, at the state level, with the legislatures, and even in some of these localities. We have Chinese CCP-owned companies that are coming in and open shop on Main Street in some towns in our small towns.
They're buying our farmland.
Yes.
They're buying our ranch land, and they're buying land in military installations.
Yes.
Would we be allowed to buy it there?
Of course not. Of course not. And they allowed a Chinese spy balloon to float unimpeded across the country for 8 days. We scratch our heads a lot around here about these Biden decisions.
And we're in a time of extraordinary crisis right now. And the world needs us to be strong. They need us to remember our creed and our admonition. Turmoil and violence have rocked the Middle East and Eastern Europe. We all know it. And tensions continue to build in the Indo-Pacific. The country demands strong leadership of this body, and we must not waver. Our nation's greatest ally in the Middle East is under attack. The first bill that I'm going to bring to this floor in just a little while will be in support of our dear friend Israel, and we're overdue in getting that done. We're going to show not only Israel, but the entire world that the barbarism of Hamas that we have all seen play out on our television screens is wretched and wrong, and we're going to stand for the good in that conflict. We have a catastrophe at our southern border. The Senate and the White House can no longer ignore the problem. From Texas to New York, wave after wave of illegal migrants are stressing our communities to their breaking points. We know that our streets are being flooded with fentanyl, and all of our communities, children, and even adults are dying from it. The status quo is unacceptable. Inaction is unacceptable, and we must come together and address the broken border. We have to do it. The skyrocketing cost of living is unsustainable, and Americans should not have to worry about how they're going to feed their family every week because they can't afford their groceries anymore. Everybody in this room should think about this. Here's the stats. Prices have increased over 17% in the last 2 years. Credit card interest rates are at the highest level in nearly 3 decades, and mortgage rates are now at a peak we haven't seen since 2001. We have to bring relief to the American people by reining in federal spending and bringing down inflation. The greatest threat to our national security is our nation's debt. And while we've been sitting in this room, that's right, the debt has crossed almost $33.6 trillion. In the time that it's going to take me to deliver this speech, we'll go up another $20 million in debt. It's unsustainable. We have to get the country back on track. Now, we know this is not going to be an easy task, and tough decisions will have to be made. But the consequences, if we don't act now, are unbearable. We have a duty to the American people to explain this to them so they understand it well. And we are going to establish a bipartisan debt commission to begin working on this crisis immediately. We all know that we also live in a time of bitter partisanship. It was noted. And it's been on display here today, right? When our people are losing their faith in government, when they're losing sight of the principles that made us the greatest nation in the history of the world, I think we've got to be mindful of that. We're going to fight. We're going to fight vigorously over our core principles because they're at odds a lot of times now in this modern era. We have to sacrifice sometimes our preferences because that's what's necessary in the legislative body. But we will defend our core principles to the end.
Do you believe that Joe Biden's Department of Justice, do you believe our FBI has been politicized? Do you believe it's been weaponized? Do we have a dual justice system?
Absolutely. We have a two-tiered system of justice, and that erodes the people's faith in our system of justice itself. And this is what I reminded Merrick Garland when he was in front of us, the Attorney General, Christopher Wray at the FBI. The greatest threat here is not these individual issues. It's that the people are losing their faith in our system of justice. And Sean, you cannot maintain a constitutional republic, a government of, by, and for the people, if the people doubt that the system is fair. If they believe there's two tiers of justice, then the system doesn't work at all. And so I think Garland's been a great threat. I think he's the worst Attorney General in the history of the United States.
No, sir. No, sir. The court found specifically, it's a finding of fact that is not disputed by the government defendants, the Biden administration, your agency, the FBI, or DHS, not in the litigation. They determined you and all of your cohorts made no distinction between domestic speech and foreign speech. So don't stand there and tell me under oath that you only focused on adversaries around the world. I have to be honest and tell you, I'm not sure exactly what you do at the Department of Homeland Security other than great harm. On your watch, the data is pretty clear. We've had record levels of illegal immigration, a rapid decline in deportations, skyrocketing fentanyl deaths across our country, and the Secret Service, which is a DHS component, can't determine who left cocaine at the White House. In the middle of all this, you created the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, CISA, which is a division of DHS. And it's one of the Biden administration agencies that colluded with and coerced the social media companies to censor Americans' protected free speech online. That's specifically detailed in a 155-page court opinion that came out of the federal court in Louisiana in the landmark litigation of Missouri v. Biden. Have you read that court opinion?
Congressman, I have not, and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency does not censor speech.
Okay, well, the court found otherwise, and it's really curious to me. Actually, it's quite alarming that you haven't read the opinion, because your agency is listed in this opinion. The federal court looked at volumes of evidence over months of litigation, and they determined, among other things, that if the allegations made by the plaintiffs, the states in this case, are true, and hold on, the preliminary injunction was granted against your agency, sir, and other Biden administration agencies, including the DOJ and FBI. The court said it involves the most massive attack against free speech in United States history. And you're telling me this opinion issued July 4th has not reached your desk? No one's briefed you on it?
Oh, I have been briefed on the Missouri litigation.
Okay, but you haven't taken the time to read it yet.
Congressman,
no, hold on. Have you read it or not?
I have read parts of it,
Oh,
Congressman.
parts of it. Did you read the parts where it said that this is Orwellian and dystopian and that your agency is involved in a massive cover-up of specifically conservative free speech online?
Congressman, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is not involved in such conduct.
Okay, well, the court found otherwise, and you stand here under oath and you give us these answers that we know are not true because this is demonstrably untrue.